Welcome to Womb Talk. I'm your host, Elizabeth Vanderwalt. I'm a holistic doula and a women's health coach, and I'm also the founder of Fruitful Womb Doula Services. This space is for every woman who is walking the path of deeper healing, whether that's tending to your fertility, maybe it's the fact that you're already carrying life, or maybe you're already going through the struggles of grieving loss. Or maybe you're stepping into motherhood or easing into the wisdom of menopause. Wherever you are in your journey, we're here to help. Here we honor the full spectrum of womanhood through story, nourishment, and sacred conversation. Feel free to find us on social media and stay connected with the community. So let's settle in, take a deep breath, and begin. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into my experience at not one, but two women's circles and why I think you should sign up for one ASAP. I'll start off with my very first womb circle that happened just this early July. It was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. I've never been a camper, so I'll start there. I didn't go to school camps when I was younger. I didn't grow up with that kind of mentality. So this was my first time technically on a weekend away where I was technically working, but I was also getting to experience just that sisterhood feeling. And I think wherever you are in your life, this is something that you should be a part of. I love the fact that we had women of all ages. They had what we called Little Women tickets, and the younger girls that were just like in the early teens and starting to experience this. I was completely blown away by the experience. The fact of compassion that people also had, and the ability where you could just be so raw and so open and just share exactly what was on your heart in that moment and just feel loved and get experience from all of the people around you. So it was just one of the most powerful experiences that I had. The first one, I came there in three different modalities. I came in as a presenter. So I had two different talks. One was a women's circle, a special one just dedicated to mothers who needed to connect, share their journey on motherhood and like where they were at and what kind of support we could give them. Sometimes talking is the best form of medicine. Then for my other presentation, which I kind of did that backwards because that was my Sunday presentation and talk. The first one was all about yoni steaming, and I was so amazed to hear the different stories from different women on where they were in their cycles and what they were at, and to have people of different ages where you got to hear stories where it was still so denied. Like you were not allowed to talk about it. It was not something you could be open about your bleeding. And it felt so wonderful to hold a space for people like that. And then I also came as a healer and a vendor. So as a vendor, I was selling my Yoni Steam herbal packets. And as a healer, I came in providing Yoni Steams and womb massages. And I met the most amazing people. I had such wonderful clients that I could just really feel that, that joy of spending time with people. So I really found it a powerful experience. I got to know so many people. I got to hear the stories and the dancing late at the night. And there was a wonderful woman that I am going to be working with further in the future. Her name is Malika, and she had such a beautiful story, or like not a story, but she had such beautiful skill, and she was able to do like this fire show where she was tossing. It was incredible. I was blown away. And every time I texted home and I was telling my parents about it, apparently my brothers, they were like, "Oh Lord, what's going on with her?" Because my eyes were just open to such an incredible experience. So they thought I think I that I went off on the dark end or something when I was like, "This is such a raw and truthful experience." And I just felt like I had found a home away from home. And it was incredible, especially since I hate bugs and outside. The least outside time I can get, I'm normally happier, which has been changing already in me the past couple of years. But to be outside for pretty much 3 days straight was an incredible feat on my part as well. Now, the downside of it was I did get so many mosquito bites that I was red from head to toe. Unfortunately, I also sat on an ant hill, so you can only imagine the amount of bug bites that I had from that. But the experience I would totally do over again, bug bites included, because it just was a incredible experience. So with that in bag, I was kind of excited and not so excited about my second women's circle because I was like, how can it top this? How can it be better this? And first off, let me always say that you should never, ever, ever compare something to another. It's just it's just not something that should be done. So I was a little more hesitant, and I've had two friends who were supposed to come with me because I was getting a free ticket that I was allowed to bring a friend. And I thought, you know what? Instead of trying to give it away or raffle it, I'm going to bring an actual friend and have some fun. And unfortunately, the two friends that I invited, the first one had to cancel, and then the second one, her plane flight canceled like a week before it happened. So I was starting to be like, oh my Lord, what's happening? Why is nobody able to come with me? And I was starting to panic a little, like what was that entailing? What did that mean for me? But the experience was still absolutely incredible. First off, the amount of people that you meet at these circles, the stories that you get to hear, I'm always so very grateful. And I come from a place where I want to give so much love to others. And to hear stories that sometimes just tap at my heart, my empathic little heart is like I can't sometimes. So it was very interesting to come into a space where I was this time just presenting, so I was only speaking at this one, and a lot of me was attending really. So my presentation was one of the very first of the three to start us off on this Friday afternoon, and it was blistering hot, but thankfully I got lucky enough to get the actual air-conditioned building for my speech, and I was so blessed for that ability to sit with people and get to hear the stories again and talk about yoni steaming. I loved it. It was a fantastic experience. But after that, I was completely an attendee. I didn't have womb massages or yoni steams this time. I didn't come from a place where I was healing and vending. I was just coming from a place of me. And this one became more of a me experience. It was for me to learn more about myself, how I can help myself, and that was incredible. I got to experience a 9D breathwork session, and I knew nothing of it. I literally thought it was just breathwork, and I did breathwork more regularly before my grandmother passed away in February, but I was very into breath work and I wanted to get back into that. But this experience was beyond what that is. And a lady had warned me. She's like, this is not the same as regular breath work. And I'm like, oh, what did I sign up for? But really, it was just such a powerful experience because in the end, it came down to um, visualization. Like you get these headphones and you had an eye mask and you have the visualization that, the parts I remember, because what happened was I had got into such a stage where at points they were telling you like, oh, out of this breathing now we're gonna scream and let it all out. And nothing but a whisper came out because as everybody knows, I could talk. I could talk like nobody's business. But screaming is something that I still struggle a little with sometimes. I can do it, but I struggle. And so I didn't. And right at that moment, it was like click, gone. I don't remember anything that happened from that experience. I passed entirely out, and there was a woman who was beside me, and she had woken me up, and I had jumped. And I couldn't remember where I was, who I was, like what I was doing. I was so lost that it took me about 20 minutes to wake up from that experience and like be aware. Now, unfortunately, I was so exhausted from that entire situation that I ended up skipping the dancing, which I really regret that I didn't do over the entire weekend. But I knew that there will be more dancing coming in my future. There will be more fire and freedom, and I will definitely be signing up for more of these in the future. Like it is a calling of mine to be aware of these sessions. And so I just continued to experience over the weekend. So I got to go to my very first sound bath. So I got to hear such beautiful experiences. And I would have loved to lie down, but a lot of it was rocky ground. So I just sat up, and to hear she would go over your head with these chimes or these, oh, it was beautiful. It was an absolutely incredible experience. I loved every second of it. And from then, I just made connections. There was a class where you had to draw what you saw of yourself on the outside. And I'm not the most artistic person, but it was a very interesting piece of me to draw that. And then you were supposed to close your eyes, do another body scan, and you were supposed to draw what you see on the inside. And I have a very hard time seeing what's on the inside because I've been clouded with a lot of hate and negativity. And sometimes those inner whispers continue to come back at me. So I don't really know what to believe entirely about my inner self. But I remembered what I am consistently brought up back to. And I am brought back to that I am a yellow ball of light. And I just painted over myself completely yellow. And people tell me I'm bubbly, so I drew bubbles from my heart space and I drew them coming up. And it was incredible to experience that joy. I I really have learned so much from those experiences and the amount of people that I have met and connections. The one person came up to me on the very first festival, and we had done grief tending together back in my very first one. And she had ran to follow me behind my car. And she chased me right before I got in and I was leaving. And she said, "May I give you a hug?" And we did. And she's like, "You you will see what other people see of you soon." Like it was such a an opening wish. And it felt so like, because when you get in these moments, you get to experience everyone else's joy and sadness and happiness and like all these feelings, and you get to feel it all. And someone who does feel a lot for other people often, I really felt that. So from there, in the second one, I had someone who would just sit right up beside me, right near our potluck. And she said, "We're going to be friends. I like you. I like your energy." She's like, "I need to spend more time with you." And so she and I, though not planned, ended up meeting almost every single workshop. So at some of these women's circles, they divide it by two or three, or I don't know, other ones maybe that are bigger, but there's different workshops going on at the same time. So the likelihood that you might see the same people is possible, but you may end up going to different shows often or talks. So the fact that she kept lining up with me and what I was talking, and I hadn't really talked about what my schedule was because at this point I was like, what energy do I have to walk to another building? Am I hot enough? Or like, is this going to be cold enough to just sit here? And so it was really quite incredible to keep bumping into her a little bit. So these experiences to meet with people were really just very touching to the heart. And I feel like it helped a lot to have the second experience where I was more of an attendee to really just experience all the different aspects of the show. And so yeah, I loved my chances at women's circles. I did not camp. I ended up spending more money to get an Airbnb at the first one and a hotel at the other room, to the other place. And so I really just got to experience the show and then I went home. Now, next year, when I definitely think I plan on doing them again, I do think I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to get myself camping gear and just camp because at this point, I'm like, what do I do? I don't really think I like too much of leaving and then coming back all the time. It felt very tough to do a little bit, but it was incredible. And if you really ever get the opportunity or if money barriers are an issue, do look in to see if they have gifted tickets, or if they have anyone like sliding scale or a volunteer position even that you can volunteer but still get to experience the fullness of the event. So I really thank you for listening to this, and I hope that you get to experience what I have and see the beauty of women's circles and what they hold. So do stay tuned next week for another episode where we'll dive more into tips and information, but this time I thought it was story time with Elizabeth so that you could get to know the fullness of a women's circles event. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you next Monday. Bye.